Hello, and welcome to part 3 of my Calamity playthrough where I can only use items related to space in the sky. If you want some context on what this run's all about, I suggest watching part 1 and 2, which I'll link in the description. Now, the beginning of Hardmode is arguably one of the most grind-intensive parts of Terraria, with lots of ores, new materials, weapons, armours, accessories. Not to mention the new ones that Calamity throws into the mix. But luckily for me, or unluckily, most of those items that require grinding are not available for me to use anyway, so I don't need to grind as much. Kind of a shame that I enjoy the start of hard mode grind though. Ah well. With some desert scourges downed, it was now time for me to gain every single part of my early hard mode gear. In one biome. That's right, it's time for my favourite biome for this specific playthrough, the Astral Infection. Not only do enemies here drop stardust, a valid space crafting material, but there are weapons, armours and accessories at multiple stages of the game that are all space related that can be found right here. For my weapon though, all I need to do is fish. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm probably overhyping its usefulness, but the Gacruxian mollusk is probably one of the best early hard mode rogue weapons. I'm going to be using it for every single mech, no doubt. I did also fish up the Polaris parrotfish and the Ursa Sergeant, but they didn't prove to be really useful. I also went and killed some atlases and collected some astral monoliths to craft some Titan Heart armor, a rogue armor set. This, combined with the mollusk, is all I need to take on early hard mode. Yes, my accessories are the same, and I get no new wings, but my weapon and armor are good at least. Now it's time to get some essential early hard mode materials. Essences of Helium for Cryogen summons, as well as Souls of Light and Night. I would obviously do the last two in the laziest way possible, and summon some King Slimes. I also killed our good friends the Perforators to get some easy Ichor. I need all the damage boosts I can get, and a minus 20 defense on all enemies is nothing to scoff at. Most of a Cryogen fight is more about positioning rather than quick movement, so I'm not too under-geared in terms of movement speed, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Surprisingly, the Gacruxian mollusk did a really good job at keeping up the damage and dealing with the minions, but that didn't mean anything if I couldn't dodge attacks. One of the weak points of my setup is the lack of a dash, and, fun fact, I do not get a real dash for a long time. Well, not exactly. Cryogen does drop his lore item, granting a dash without using an accessory slot, but with this challenge in mind I consider it not a valid item to use. Also, you thought I'd beat this boss on the first attempt? Ha! Think again! Luckily it only took one more attempt to take it down. While Cryogen isn't mandatory, I wanted cryonic bars for a major wing upgrade. That means more grinding! I decided to get the ore for an adamantite pickaxe the quote-unquote fun way by fishing. I didn't get enough ore for a furnace though, so I got some more of that the old-fashioned way. Final step was some Souls of Flight, but they are easy enough to get. Goodbye Skyline Wings, hello Starlight Wings. With over double the flight time, these will be an asset to my accessory build. Especially considering it's competing with such glorious placeholders, such as the Band of Star Power and Cloud in a Bottle. Now, with actual good wings, it's time for Mecha Mayhem. Twins, Prime and Destroyer all need to go, as a vital accessory is locked between all three of their souls. First up is the Twins, as I'm most confident I can beat them with my current equipment. Something key to note here is that one of my accessories that usually would be irrelevant at this point, the Harpy Ring, is actually assisting me greatly. Movement speed in the air is separate to movement speed on the ground, and thanks to the 20% flight boost from my ring, I'm able to take advantage of my superior wing ability. Unfortunately though, I still have the issue of no dash. If I want to change directions, I need to hook to my platform and pray for the best. Something I forgot to use until later in the fight is the Slimy Saddle. With the Twins becoming faster and faster, being able to change direction as quickly as possible is a priority, although I could have also fixed this issue by making a longer arena. Unfortunately for me, each individual mech kill doesn't unlock really anything for me, so these souls and bars are near useless until I kill all three. Anyway, I tried Skeletron Prime and it was going well at first until Phase 2 happened. Not only was the Cacruxian Mollusk's sparks failing to catch up to Prime, but he was simply way too fast for me. Although there wasn't much I could get to make it easier, there were some optimizations I could make to my loadout. And so I started grinding. began in the jungle where I could collect life fruits. Any possible boost to my stats is a must, and 400 to a possible 500 HP is a bigger boost to survivability than you'd think. However, now it was time for me to grind for real this time. I wanted the Deific Amulet. It would require many rare materials from all around my world, but with a huge payout. Increased immunity time, lower healing potion cooldown, armor penetration, and, the trait that makes it valid for this challenge, making stars fall when I take damage. This was finally a proper accessory, one that is worthy of staying in my loadout for a long time. I decided to create a second row of platforms high above the first, so that I can refresh my flight time without having to go all the way back down. Apart from that, I was all set for the other two mechs, Destroyer and Prime. Since Skeletron Prime was so hard last time, I tried Destroyer first, and, gotta be honest, I expected this to be harder. I mainly attribute the lack of difficulty to this intricate dance that we ended up doing together, where we both ascended and descended in line with one another in my arena, to the point where I wasn't getting hit at all. This didn't last for the whole fight, but that was crazy, right? Luckily, due to the nature of weapons like a Cruxy and Mollusk against worm bosses, I was able to beat the Destroyer relatively quickly and on the first try too, though not before it was able to get in a cheeky nibble. And now, it's Prime time. I decided to make the Lunar Eye, using Stardust and Aerialite, to reduce Prime's damage reduction, which evidently didn't help much. Regardless, I did end up beating him, but whether that's because of the Lunar Eye or not is up to you. So you know how we don't have Hermes boots? Well, what if I told you that a certain upgrade of them uses essences of sunlight and area light bars in their recipe? Finally, with the angel treads, we can run, and it took 3 episodes. Additionally, with the souls, I made the Sun God staff, which, on its own, would hardly contribute any damage, but when paired with the Hallowed rune, increases my defense and life regen. Also, the Hallowed rune has a chance to rain a star down on enemies hit by summon weapons, so that's why I allowed it. Now that all the mechs have been defeated, it's time for Plant. Although it enrages when in a large arena, I always find it easier to dodge Plantera when there's a lot of open space, so I get started hollowing out a massive area in the jungle. At least the Sun God staff did prove to be pretty helpful in passively dealing with enemies, so that's nice, I guess. Thanks to the large arena and angel treads, I was easily able to maneuver around Plantera in its first phase, but the second phase is where it got pretty bad. Something I seem to have forgotten is that I find it easier to fight Plantera in a big arena when I have a dash, specifically one that lets me ram through enemies. What also didn't help was that the Cacruxian mollusk, though still doing damage, was not doing as much as I'd have liked it to. There were probably some stronger weapons I could have made, but I both couldn't be bothered and didn't know of anything that would do much better than the mollusk. And so I died to Plantera. But don't worry, for I still knew how I could make this easier. With a Hallow fishing pond set up, I could get myself Chaos Fish to make the Rod of Discord. However, just as I was opening all my crates, a Blood Moon occurred. So I decided to farm for some Blood Orbs for some easy potions. Fun fact, Death Mode Blood Moon spawn rates paired with Zergan battle potions is not okay. Plantera's defeat unlocks many things: the Jungle Temple, Ectoplasm from the dungeon, and most importantly, Solar Veils from the Solar Eclipse. Although they aren't used for many things, almost all the items they can make will be very useful. After some Solar Eclipse farming, I have enough Veils to make the Umbraphile armor as well as the Vampiric Talisman a slight upgrade from the Band of Star Power. Now, you may be wondering, why have I really only been using rogue equipment so far? And my only answer to that is that the space/sky category seems to suit the rogue class much more than any other. I would have tried to do an Omni class playthrough if I could. Armour and accessories aren't everything though, so I head off to the dungeon to get some ectoplasm for a new weapon. I should mention as well that I did make the Cosmic Bolter bow and upgrade to the Lunarian, but my rogue weapons were doing much more damage than it, so I hardly used it at all. The Fantasy Talisman are a very strong consumable rogue weapon, and I'll be using them to defeat Astromorius, a boss that unlocks so many options for me if I can beat it. The reason I knew this challenge would be possible in hard mode is because of this boss. I mean it. Unluckily for me, my astral biome was really bumpy and not ideal for an arena. That didn't stop me from trying. What it didn't stop too was Aureus jumping off a cliff and despawning. Thank you, Astromorius. A few fails wouldn't stop me, couldn't stop me. As long as I could see what was possible, I could achieve anything. All I needed to do was wish upon a star.